Good morning, it's Dawn Isenhower with Sibcy Cline Realtors. In real estate, we have a lot of adventures, especially if we're full-time agents. We just never know what we're going to run into. I want to tell you today about the cat. Last year, I was looking for property for a buyer out in the country. So I drove out to Hillsborough, which is an hour away from where my town is, where I live. My office is based. And it was snowy. It was a really bad day. The roads weren't great, but I went out, dressed warm, and took off on that adventure that day. The buyer's representative couldn't make it. The buyer was an out-of-town buyer due to the weather. So when I arrived at the house, I had been on the phone with the buyer and just said, well, if they can't make it while I'm here, I'm looking at the house. There was snow everywhere. It was worse an hour away than it was where I came from in Milford. So I went ahead and went on in the house. It was a really strange experience. There was just a weird feeling about everything, but the house was really cute. Beautiful, snow everywhere, out in the country. Just pretty nice actually, but cold. So I walked in the house. I had to enter through the back. And as soon as I entered, I heard the front door slowly creeping open, just creaking and slowly opening, like something out of a horror movie, because I was in the middle of nowhere. It was really cold. No one was around, and this front door is creaking open. So I snuck around through the dining area and took a look. There was no one there. The wind had just blown the door open. I tried to close it, and the door didn't latch. So what I wound up doing was locking the storm door and then shutting the door as tight as I could. So crisis averted, right? Went through the rest of the house with the buyer on the phone and couldn't find an access to the basement from inside. So I told them, I said, it must be on the outside. I'll take you outside with me. So found the door. Lo and behold, the door to the walk down to the old stone basement, because this was a really old farmhouse. So I opened the door, and the first thing I was greeted with was a cat paw feeling around the outside trim of the door. And I laughed and told the buyer, well, I gotta get in. So just a second. So I fought my way in with this cat just reaching out and touching the door trim as much as it possibly could to get freed, because it was trapped between that door and another door at the bottom of the steps. So I started down the path, no food, no water for this cat anywhere in this stairwell. And so the cat kept trying to grab my feet as I went down these stone steps. It was pretty old, it was treacherous. So I get to the bottom, the buyer's on the phone, the cat's trying to tackle me as I'm going down the steps. And I get to the bottom and I open the door to the basement. And the basement's actually not bad for that age of a house. It was dry. There was plenty of light down there. But as I was talking to the buyer on the phone, with each step, this cat is trying to tackle my feet. It's diving my feet and trying to tackle me. So, of course, I lost service. I'm out in the middle of the country and I'm in a basement. So I lose phone service. But I look around at the floor joists, and I look for knob and tube wiring and the same types of things I always look for. And this cat, with each step I take, is still trying to grab my feet. It was so funny. So I was done in the basement, and I turned around to leave, and the cat was having none of this. It was not going to be left in this basement anywhere without me. So I got out the door, obviously wasn't going to trap the cat in there with no food or water or a litter box. So I closed the door after us. The cat grabs onto my leg, claws extended, and digs into my jeans. And with each step I took, the cat is climbing further and further up my leg. I'm allergic to cat urine. So my throat started to get tingly. Things were getting interesting. And I finally called the listing agent because it was really cold outside, snow everywhere, freezing cold. I didn't want the cat to freeze to death. So I called the listing agent to see what I needed to do about the cat. And the admin got a hold of the seller, and I had permission to let the cat out. So as soon as I opened the door, the cat just released me and it ran toward its food and water, and I couldn't blame it, on the back porch. So we were both freed from our dungeon. I went around the outside of the house, took a look at everything, took some pictures. And when I was getting ready to leave, put the key back in the lockbox, the kitty looks at me like, aren't you going to let me back in? I felt guilty about letting it back in where it was trapped before, but I couldn't leave it out in the cold either. So I let the cat back into the stairwell, let the listing agent know how I left things, and I took off. As I was backing up, I looked behind me, and just like something out of a scene from Courier and Ives with all the snow around, this black horse and buggy just sails by me down the road. And with that, I was gone. Moral of the story: secure your pets for their safety and for the safety of everyone else. That cat would have been so much happier in the basement, in that warm basement down there, actually, with food and water and a litter box and a note on the door, letting me know that it was in there, and life would have been good. Have a good one. I'll leave you with that. Have a great day. And if you have any questions about real estate, as always, feel free to call me at 513-236-1254. Bye.